Well, hello everybody. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Miigwech to all of those that are listening. And I first want to show respect today. We're here doing business on the unceded lands of the Anishinaabe and Algonquin people. And it is important that we highlight the important role Indigenous volunteer, composite, and paid firefighters, the role they play in their homelands and right across this country, the sacrifice that they make. Today, we're here to talk about the crisis that is facing volunteer search and rescue and firefighters from coast to coast to coast, especially as we see a fire season like we've never seen, raging right across our country, and the demands that are placed on volunteers that are putting their lives at risk, supporting their families, and protecting their communities. And right now we know there's issues when it comes to recruitment, retention, and certainly it's critical that the federal government show respect to all of those that are making sacrifices to keep us safe. And today I'm joined, and it's a huge honor to be joined by Fire Chief Paul Boissoneault, who is with the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs. He's a board member, and the Oakville Fire Chief. Brian Starkel, the Volunteer Firefighters of Canada. Dale Kirsch, the President of Civil Air Search and Rescue Aviation. Tina Saradine, the Executive Director of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs, and Chief Bryce Luker from Chief East, he's the Chief of East Hawkesbury. Now, all of these champions that are here that I'm standing with today are representing hundreds, if not, well, over 90,000 volunteer firefighters and search and rescue personnel across our country, people that leave their work to go and help their neighbor, that create huge sacrifices that impacts their family, their lives, and their economic well-being. And all of them are facing the same challenges as all of us, increasing costs of living, inflation, and they have not seen an increase in their tax credit that they get if they do over 200 hours or more in this volunteer capacity as a volunteer firefighter or search and rescue, where they get right now a benefit of about $450. It's the first $3,000 of income. And we're calling on the federal government to increase that to $10,000, which would increase a little bit of take-home money. But let's face it, we know that this wouldn't even cover the amount of money that's spent on fuel getting to the department on the calls that they make, or the boots or the clothing that they pay for out of pocket to ensure that they can help protect their communities, or the missed work that they have. This is critical that the federal government respond. Now, we've heard the government say that they appreciate the work of volunteer firefighters and search and rescue personnel across this country, yet they haven't responded by showing them that they actually matter. And this is a simple ask of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs and volunteers across the country, that they increase this tax credit that hasn't been increased in over a decade, so the government can respond now. They can do the right thing. This is a $30 million a year increase that is being asked for in Bill C-310 that I tabled earlier this year, and it was again tabled back in 2021. So this is something that's been on the books for a while. We know the government says it's a really good idea, but they can't wait. Right now we're heading into a fire season where we're short 15,000 personnel for volunteer firefighting and search and rescue personnel. This is critical that the government not only show that they appreciate these volunteers, but also show that they matter and that we want to support the recruitment and retention and again, show respect to these volunteers across the country. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Paul Boissoneault, a champion in our country, and I want to thank him for being here and all of his members. So thank you, Chief Boissoneault.
Thank you, Mr. Johns. Your support of the volunteer firefighters and search and rescue volunteers has been consistent, persistent, and commendable. We're extremely pleased to join you here today. Members of the press, members of Parliament, volunteer firefighters and search and rescue personnel, fellow Canadians. Today, on the unceded and unsurrendered territories of the Anishinaabe and the Algonquin people, and in the presence of our friends and colleagues at the Volunteer Firefighters of Canada, VFC, Canadian Air Search and Rescue Association of Canada, CASARA, and the Search and Rescue Volunteer Association of Canada, SARVAC, who could not be here today, I am here to offer the unequivocal support of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs. The Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs is the national organization representing the country's 3,200 fire departments and by extension 126,000 firefighters with them, with full support of Bill C-310, an act to amend the Income Tax Act, Volunteer Firefighting and Search and Rescue Volunteer Tax Credit. This act would increase the volunteer firefighter and volunteer search and rescue tax credit from $3,000, established in 2013, to $10,000, and clarify the definition of volunteer firefighter. Today, our country is facing the worst wildfire season in history. Over the past few weeks, you may have seen the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs on media stations across Canada and the world, sending the same message I'm here to repeat today. The country is relying heavily on the volunteer fire service that is stretched beyond recognition this wildfire season and during the rest of the year. While the situation is amplified due to the increased wildfires, the effort of the volunteer firefighters and search and rescue personnel during wildfire season is matched only by their all-hazard approach. During everyday emergencies, during COVID and flu season, during heat domes and floods, and in events like the bus crash tragedy over the weekend in Manitoba. Please allow me a moment to express the condolences and solidarity of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs to the families, friends, and communities of the deceased, and to the Manitoba Association of Fire Chiefs, President Fire Chief Cam Avery, and to his colleagues whose departments have been deeply impacted. What does all this have to do with Bill C-310 today? This will be a very long and challenging summer for volunteer firefighters and search and rescue personnel nationally. Wildfires started earlier in 2023, and they're spread out in multiple communities and provinces. With so many wildfires, the ability for interprovincial sharing of resources is limited. Where provincial wildland agencies handled wildfires on their own previously, today they rely and draw on local firefighters' equipment and resources, the majority of whom are volunteer. Volunteer firefighters in this country provide all-hazard response, particularly in smaller communities, where the tax base may not be able to withstand the cost of a career fire department. Increasing the volunteer firefighter tax credit, as costed by the Parliamentary Budget Officer, would cost a total of $30 million per year. We know these are tough economic times, but replacing even a quarter of the volunteer firefighters with full-time career firefighters would cost exponentially more, and many communities could not carry that cost burden. This is why we're asking, whether through Mr. Johns' private member's bill, or if there are other means that could be more expeditious, for an increase in the volunteer firefighter tax credit from $3,000 to $10,000. Let's send volunteer firefighters and search and rescue personnel a clear message of support in every riding across Canada, that these individuals are not taken for granted, that the work they do is crucial, recognized, and appreciated. This would not only serve as a morale booster, but sadly in these circumstances, the volunteers' own families, communities, businesses may be impacted. This is another practical way to show them enhanced support. With volunteer firefighter numbers decreasing at an alarming rate, this could also assist in addressing future considerations and concerns of recruitment and retention of these critical resources that are in crisis. The need is not new, but now is more urgent. In closing, I want to thank Mr. Johns for his bill, our friends from Casera, Sarvac, and VFC for their support, the media who are helping Canadians remain informed, parliamentarians of all parties for the work you do in difficult circumstances, and especially Canada's volunteer firefighters and search and rescue personnel, along with your families and employers for your efforts during these trying times. We are asking and need the federal government to act in support of this bill. The time is now. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
If you have a question and you're online, please use the raise hand function to notify us of your question. First question, Richard Raycraft, go ahead.
Hi there. My first question is for Chief Boissoneault. I was wondering if you could talk about the shortage of volunteers. How many volunteer firefighters are there in Canada right now, and how severe is the shortage in numbers?
First and foremost, thank you very much for your question. Right now, we have at least an approximation of 15,000 vacancies for volunteer fire services across Canada. There's additional numbers for search and rescue volunteers as well that contribute to that. What I would dare say is that we had undertaken a huge endeavor to ensure that we know data matters. So we did a Great Canadian Census in 2022 that showed results to give us the numbers of 126,000. A mere 7 years ago, that total was almost 30,000 more than what it currently is today. The impacts, financial challenges are drastically changing the landscape of our firefighters and the amount of staffing and resourcing that we have. And I dare say that we are in a crisis because trying to maintain well-trained, well-prepared, and ready to respond firefighters and search and rescue personnel is probably at an all-time biggest challenge right now.
Thank you so much. And for MP Johns, this type of thing has been proposed before. How confident are you that the government is going to adopt this proposal now?
Well, what we keep hearing from the government is, even yesterday, there was a unanimous consent for a motion in the House of Commons commending all of the volunteer firefighters and search and rescue personnel across the country, thanking them for the hard work that they do. And they know that this ask is on the table. And what they should have been doing is honoring the request made by the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs and volunteers across the country. The Minister of Emergency, Minister Bill Blair, he cites that he thinks this is a great idea. But that's not good enough. And, he says, even alludes to maybe this is something they could look at in the future. We can't wait. We just heard from Chief Boissoneault, they're short 15,000 volunteer firefighters right across the country, which impacts communities, from coast to coast to coast. But not only are we short and we need those positions filled, it's creating huge stress and strain on the existing personnel that are there right now. So we need to right now focus on how we're going to retain those volunteer firefighters, recruit, and it's time for the government to show respect to all of the volunteers that have been putting their lives on the line, the sacrifice that they're making. This is not a small ask. This is $30 million. The federal government's found billions of dollars to help make it in economic development investments across the country, even recently. They should be able to find $30 million for the 90,000 plus volunteers right now, especially after seeing a decline of 29% under their watch since they formed government in 2015. So this is a really important ask, and it's timely. They need to get in front of this. They can't wait till the end of the fire season to show respect to these volunteers.
Thank you so much.
And that concludes the press conference. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.